Welcome to Buzz Talk Live. Tonight's guest by day works as a supply chain manager and pop culture expert for the Topps Trading Card Company. Sean Behrens, by night, is a playwright with over 7 plays produced and performed in New York City's unique underground culture, where actors and playwrights are able to perform and share their talents with the public. Sean's from a small town of Vernon, New Jersey, the home of the infamous Action Park Amusements, one of my favorites. With the lack of culture in the small town community, there's not much else to do. So, to feed his curiosity mind, Sean began to watch every film his family had on VHS, and we're going to talk about this, and everything that was being shown on HBO. I didn't even do that. Soon, he saw himself as a filmmaker. And just as soon, he found out that it was just too costly to be one, which then set him on his journey to become a writer of plays, short stories, and most recently, a screenplay. Sean is hardworking, dedicated, he's educated, and determined to be successful at his craft. So please use your chats wisely and ask some great questions, and welcome Sean Behrens to Buzz Talk Live. How you doing, Sean?
All right, round of applause. Hey, George, thanks for having me on the show and that wonderful introduction.
Oh, thank you very much.
Sure, I did work at Action Park for a couple summers.
Wow.
It really was dangerous. It was dangerous, and it was where I actually started smoking, because that was back when they had cigarette vending machines. Back then it was $3, and it was expensive for the day, but that's where I started doing it, and nobody cared. That was they saw a 15-year-old kid buy cigarettes and like this, whatever.
So you were a ride operator? You like actually?
I worked what they call general services, which was emptying out trash, and then I worked.
Look, Sean, we don't want to talk about that.
I'll tell you what garbage juice is. I'll tell you what. Also, I worked the parking lot.
Oh boy,
the parking thing, and little known fact, back in the '90s, it was I suspect run by the mafia. I swear to God, there's a thing called Cobblestone Village right on the other side of the highway. There, it was connected by a bridge, and
we are talking about New Jersey, Sean.
Oh, right. It's a good point. It was North Jersey. It was right on the border of, still is right on the border of upstate New York. And some dude just parked his minivan right in the parking, where you couldn't park on the thing. It was like the fire lane. And I go over, I'm like, excuse me, sir, you can't park here. And this dude turns around like this. Like he had his nose broken 100 times. He had
my God,
like a black curly hair thing, and he's like,
I think they call these people carny people.
Carny people. Oh yeah, he was a big dude, and he's like, I'll just be here 15 minutes, and I saw him, and by that time I saw Goodfellas and The Godfather, and I was like, you know what, man, it's cool, and I just walked away. And I'm like, that place really is cool, and Like God bless that place, because at the time it kind of sucked, but
Hey, look, it seemed to me like you really had an interesting part of your life growing up there. Like I said, you came from a small town, so so talk to me about. I gotta ask you.
Sure.
All these films that you saw, and you memorized a lot of them, and
I did,
you're crazy, man. I mean, who does this stuff?
It was pretty crazy, but it was. I tell people I lived in it was a shack in the woods on a mountain. That's essentially what it was. I really didn't know your neighbors, and your closest friend was at least a half-hour walk. And
wow.
We would play in the woods. Just in the woods, there was no parks, there was no sidewalks.
Yeah.
So you would just left to your own imagination, and we were poor, so we really didn't have I didn't really have a lot of toys, but my mom was always into movies.
Right.
And I was into cartoons, and I would always stay up late watching TV, and it was kind of regulated. So whenever I could get in front of the TV, I would just try to really focus on it. It could stay in my head, and then as I was forced to go to bed, I would replay these like the scenes in my head and try to change things around, like how I would do it.
Wow.
And when I was about 12, I was like, well, I'm gonna become like a writer and a filmmaker. And by that time, my mom had a lot of VHS in the house.
Okay.
So I took it upon myself to watch every single VHS
Man.
in that place. And around that same time,
just watching VHS is work, because it's, as you know, old technology. You got to take the cassette out of the kit. You got to put it in. You got to press play. Now it's just a click of a mouse and you're watching episodes. But I tell you, I don't know how you did it. But it's a. I can't even put it into words.
It's like you gotta want it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the best thing we're going to jump into the chats in a moment.
Sure.
But I got to ask about the hat.
Oh, sure, yeah. So
are you researching a role or something? A new play?
This is, I wanted, well, it being a show, I wanted to spice it up as much as I could, and this is as spicy.
That's beautiful.
I guess I could have put on another shirt, but this used to be my old drinking hat. So whenever we would have a house party and I would get to a certain point in the evening, I would go away, put on the hat, and come back and just be like the host of the party, walking up to people and whatever else. Yeah, I kind of added to the whole thing. One time
you just gave me an idea. I think what we're going to do here at Buzz Talk Live is have a mobile wardrobe department to run around the country and visit each guest and give them a pick of wardrobe, what to wear, until we get a curvy couch and I can have a real show.
There you go. And then velvet curtains. Velvet curtains are always good.
Oh yeah. The velvet. I gotta have the velvet curtains.
That was the early Conan O'Brien set. They had that Art Deco thing. Right. But I remember one time at a party, I just decided silently in my head to be as obnoxious as I could, and I decided to say that one line from Night of the Living Dead, which was they're coming for you, Barbara. Look, there's one of them now. But I said it for an hour, straight up to everybody. I would leave the room, and then I would come back dramatically, like, Barbara, they're coming for you. Look, there's one of them now. Like every time, as an acting exercise, I guess. Just how many times can I say it differently?
Did you find yourself in the corner with a drink alone in the room?
It was a bunch of actors.
Oh,
so it was a lot of actors, and hanging out with actors are very proactive folk, and they always love being the center of attention. So they saw me as like, oh, I could play with this guy, and they would interact with me and see what I would say. Like,
oh my God! Hey, I got some chats. Let me put them up. One person asked, Up to Par asked, who is your favorite? What is your favorite TV show and movie?
Thanks for the question. And honestly, that's more complicated than it sounds. Because in my head, there's categories.
Oh.
So I'll say it like this. My favorite TV show that I just keep on going back to is, it's so weird because I really like The Walking Dead, and I really like Lost. And I know people have things to say about either one.
Yeah.
And that's cool. But just from all the dramatic narrative choices each one of those shows has made, I just really dig that. Also, let me say, New Girl, I've seen every episode at least 3 times. Wow. I'm not even kidding. My girlfriend and I, sometimes we just curl up and watch New Girl. Like, we've seen all the episodes, but it's so comforting, and they're so funny.
I'm going to ask, is it a chick flick or is it a chick?
New Girl? Yeah. I guess
it's okay.
I would have to say yes. If it's a yes, no, yes. But it's more about like growing up and all these kids, and they're all friends, and they make it seem like you want to be a part of their friend group, which is, not so easy to do narratively. But that's why I always like it. Oh, also, Law and Order: Criminal Intent. I bought seasons on Amazon Prime, which I never do. But back in the day when they used to play them on reruns, I would do that all day. I've seen episodes 8 times, and I just watch them again.
Oh my
People
God!
don't like Vincent D'Onofrio so much. I think he's fantastic.
Yeah.
So and movies. So I have like an artsy fartsy list and like a guilty pleasure list. The artsy fartsy list is Midnight Cowboy, Ordinary People, Barry Lyndon,
right,
and Blade Runner: The Final Cut. And my guilty list is Predator, Total Recall, 1985's Clue, which I absolutely adore. Like Inception and Memento is like a tie.
Nice. Hey, we got some more chats here.
Okay.
How long have you been a Giants fan?
That's a funny question.
Would you consider switching?
Switching to the Jets? I mean, once the Jets make the playoffs, yes, I will.
Oh, you're one of those guys. But all right, I'll get the band going. You know,
right. I was a Dolphins fan when I was a kid because I was into Dan Marino, and my dad took me to one football game once. And it was the Jets versus the Dolphins, and that was the game where Dan Marino had the fake spike, and he threw it in for winning the game.
Oh, okay.
Ever since then, I think I was 13. Then I was like, I'm a Dolphins fan now. But
hey, I'm trying to get OJ McDuffie on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm trying to get him on the show, but I think there's a whole thing with the NFL and contractual stuff.
It's a mess. It's a mess. We do that. We deal with that stuff at Tops a bunch.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about Tops because it's interesting that dynamic that you have, you know, and we'll talk about it more, but you're the pop culture expert.
Pop culture expert
at Tops. So let's get back to your inspiration and mentoring and all. I mean, you were such a young kid back then, and you took all this information with all these movies and. It's incredible, and you're remembering and your recall of all this stuff. So, what about mentoring? What about that? I mean, did you find a mentor early on for your writing skills? What?
No, I didn't. Not until I went to undergrad. But early on, I gravitated a lot towards David Cronenberg and Stanley Kubrick. And Bob Fosse. I don't know.
Bob Fosse?
Yeah, a lot of people don't really know, but I just really liked what he could do with the camera, and and I got into those guys.
Interesting.
I had a movie and my mom was a big Kubrick fan too.
Oh, I love Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah. I grew up that on James Cameron films.
Yeah.
But I had a couple movie dictionaries when I was a kid. And I was just you know, which is like a movie with a blurb and who was in it, who directed it.
Yeah.
I would just constantly read that, flipping around, going to the index and coming back. Especially when I was watching TV during the commercials, I would have my movie dictionary in front of me, and I would learn all this stuff. I would see patterns between directors and actors, especially about the years, and then I would see the years, and then I would make up a game for myself where I would see if I could guess the title of the movie before the title of the movie came up. And I got pretty good at it because if you know the production, you know, like the studios and the people in the film, and you could gain some insight about when it was made before the title comes up. I got pretty good at that. Just any way to really get myself in there.
Hey, before you go on, I missed a chat, and it was basically to some TV shows. Ending of Lost was so bad that they wish they never saw the show. Is that true?
Well, for me, that's another complicated, or maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just complicated. But with the show Lost,
I'm complicated. You're not complicated.
All right, this might take 60 seconds. But with the show Lost, it changed TV history because it was the first time where the show creators told the studio, "We have to end this show." Eventually, every other time it was the studio telling the show you're canceled. This time it was the first time, and it has become since the first time where the creators were like, "No, we need to end this like this." because it's getting crazy. So there was a couple crazy seasons in there, and it's true. The ending tied not all, but a lot of the loose ends together in the best way possible, and it wasn't, I assume, what the creators envisioned, but they did what they could. They did get a little wild, but if you notice after that, basically every other show, at least half of them, if not more, on the networks, they had an end date, because they know the show is going to live in reruns, and that's where they get. Also, they still make money in.
I think you're right. It is complicated.
It is. Oh, sorry, I'll stop.
That's fine. Favorite writers. Another chat up there. Yeah, I'm digging the vaping and the hat and the whole image thing. You know? It's like a TV commercial I'm watching over there.
We didn't talk about this before this, but it's.
That's okay.
It's okay.
You're in character there, Sean. Okay.
But for screenwriters, I would have to go William Goldman, Robert Towne, Frank Pearson. For novels, I would have to say David Foster Wallace, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Jonathan Franzen, and I do like Ernest Hemingway in there, even though he's not. I like him, but it's not everything he wrote was he wrote a lot, so maybe they all can't be winners, but he did really write a lot. And
I saw something about you not really reading that much as a kid. You didn't read that much.
It's true. When I was a kid, I had a head injury when I was a child, when I was 3 years old, and it kind of I don't know how much it skewed me, but I had a supreme stutter when I was a kid, and they put me in like the special speech classes in the first grade, and then onward. But it was just reading. I just couldn't.
The comprehension, like you read the words, but the comprehension was
correct. That's the comprehension. I remember one time seeing my old grades, like the tests, and the comprehension was just it was nothing. It was very difficult for me, but from class, if I could listen to what they're telling in class, and when I got to high school, I had a good enough foothold on narrative that I could try to put stuff together from what they're saying in class and from how I know a story is. I could BS my way through it, and I tell people I got through high school on my charm, which is true. But I did, and but when I was in my late teens, no, more like early 20s, I was like, if I'm going to be a writer, the one thing a writer does is read. Yeah, you got to put it in there and take it out. And my mom had an old edition of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Ken Kesey, and I'm like, I'm reading this. I saw the movie. If I watch the movie, I'll read the book. That's how I do it. I don't read the book and watch the movie and then I read the book. And it took me about 2 years to get through that book, because I would read a paragraph and I would go, what? And then
is that what you still do now? Is it?
Now, no. Now I got pretty good at it. Even there's some apps I found that would practice me speed reading. So I could practice that just so I could get better at it. But I would do that, and then...
Is Evelyn Wood still around?
Who? Evelyn Wood?
Remember Evelyn Wood's Reading Dynamics? Remember?
Yeah.
Whole thing? I always wanted to take that class. I always wanted to read with my finger. I don't know.
Yeah. That's what they say. It helps you focus. Yeah. And they also say you got to hold it away from you so you get the whole thing down. And
really? Okay.
Yeah, I would, and it would when I would read, it would be like a voice in my head as I was reading. But I grew.
I wonder if that's how they got the character from E.T. You know, with the.
Yeah, probably.
Hey, the chat. Are you? What is this? The hat from Milton Berle from Mad Men World. It's great.
Hey,
that's a
mad
great
though, buddy. It's 5 mads. It's a mad world. Go back and check.
Oh wow. All
I
right,
saw that.
James.
I saw that one. Who was
He's
the guy
calling
who
you out on the Mads. He's calling you out on the Mads.
the guy in the
That's
beginning who died who had the money? I think that was James Cagney. I'm not sure, but I think that was him because that was a movie where they had everybody in there.
yeah. Everybody was in
Phil
that.
Silver's
That's
John.
an awesome movie, man. I
That
could
is a
watch
good
that
one.
over and over and over again. I like.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, Blazing Saddles. I mean, it goes on and on. You can't even watch that stuff today.
It is. It
It
is.
won't be. It won't be shown. It won't be shown.
I know, which is so funny. The one thing I like about films, the one thing that films do that nothing else really does, is that it's a chronicle of what humanity is.
That's right.
It's true. It's like books are like that too, but it's like with a film you have the sound, the style, like the actors, the inflection, and everything else.
Exactly right.
And sometimes, when I get lost in my thoughts, I'm like, wait a second. So if the human race ever goes extinct and we're dead and gone, 1 million, 2 million years from now, aliens are going to come to Earth. They're going to find some server underneath a rock, and they're going to find Netflix, and then they're going to find all these films, and then they're going to be like, look at these silly people filming themselves, recording themselves, doing things that are fake and blah, blah, blah. And then those things are going to be studied as we study tablets now from ancient civilizations. So I always have that sort of grandiose, like
the scene from Planet of the Apes, right? With the on the beach scene where they go in and I know.
Liberty.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that was 1968. And
ahead of their time.
And you couldn't curse, but if you listen closely, Charlton Heston, he says "God damn," but he says "Oh God, damn you." So he snuck in a curse there, which I always admire. That's
interesting.
Why he's a good actor, because he snuck it in there.
So look, you've created a lot of these plays that you wrote and you put on production, and a lot of them I have them up here. Are they off Broadway? Off Broadway?
They were off Broadway. Yeah, they were off Broadway.
Okay.
And I'm proud of each one. The one there. Oh wait, we'll switch. That's a Carpet of Leaves. That's my second play. That took a lot out of me. We workshopped that for many months. That's my first play. It was a devised piece called Celebrity at SUNY Purchase. I was in the conservatory there, and that's Morse code from grad school. I went to Actors Studio Drama School, and I wanted to do a hipster love story. That one is photography. I wanted to write a play about men, because all my other plays had female main characters, and I'm like, let me discover men. This was a commission piece. I got asked by Coffee Black Productions to write never mind. That's The Evil Day. I wrote that one. It's about nicotine addiction, but I wanted to take the punk scene from England. That one's from 2009. That's The Spades 10. It's a melodramatic adaptation of William Shakespeare's Macbeth.
So, I mean, I want to deep dive into some of these. And I asked you to pick some of your favorites. I think I picked 4 of them.
Yes.
So let's talk about Carpet of Leaves.
Okay. Carpet of Leaves. I knew from. Okay, so if you're being trained as an artist,
right,
the first thing you learn is a straight line. Then you learn a curve. Then you learn shapes, and then you learn composition. But it's that order. And in my mind, I was like, okay, so if I'm going to become a playwright, a writer, I need to learn realism first,
right,
and then naturalism, and then and then the other style. So Carpet of Leaves was my foray into realism, and I focused on the gray area of relationships.
Oh, it's an interesting title.
Thanks. Yeah, that came from a guided meditation at Purchase in one of the writing schools. Our hippie professor, she took us through a guided meditation, and we were supposed to write down images. And I wrote down, this play makes me feel like a carpet of leaves, and that stayed in there. And so it was like focusing on like a offbeat sisters and 2 guys who are just trying to get into their pants. But one guy, I mean, that's a lot of plays out there. But one guy, he was like the bleeding heart type, more like heart on his sleeve. The other guy is like, well, let's just, let's score. He's that type of guy.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of that play weighted on the uniqueness. What's the word I'm looking for? The weirdness of the two sisters.
Well, having characters like that, you're showing balance in a play anyway. It's
right.
With the you just can't have all characters somewhat the same. It just it'll fall flat on its face.
Right. And yeah.
What's this? What's your opinion on spontaneous human combustion? The printer played a big role.
It did, yeah.
Talk to me about this.
Sure. Okay. So have you ever heard of Oxford University?
Yeah.
So when you get into Oxford's PhD program, they would ask you really random questions.
Okay.
Like, are you your body?
Are you what?
Are you your body?
Are you your body?
Right. These questions, they don't have right or wrong answers. They just wanted to see how you thought. Another one was like, compare Stephen Dallas to Beavis and Butthead, and all these like weird things. And one of them was, what's your opinion on spontaneous human combustion? They just wanted to see how you would talk about it. And
or just blow up.
Right. Or blow up. Or is it really, they want to see if you were into the occult or like whatever else, or just how you would say it. There was a bunch of them. There was 124. I had a list, but I chose that one because to me, getting a job, I wrote that in 2013, and it was just really hard to get a job, like from 09 onward. But so I figured, okay, so let me write an absurdist comedy about getting a job. And so let's say they put you in a room and they ask you these Oxford questions and just see how you react. And so the printer would pop out a question. One of the characters would take it, they would read it, and they would just meander on, like, how is this a job interview? You would get into their characters, how each one of them is like really unique. Like one's a backstabber, one's just awkward and weird and really into like the Middle Ages. Another one's your supreme professional. One of them's a backstabber. I don't know if I said that. Just like how would that go? And it there was no scene changes. It was just one girl, a second girl, a third girl, a fourth girl on stage for an hour. It got good reviews, but I don't know what else. It was in Fringe, and I was proud of it just because everybody was really like together doing it, and I just like working with women more because they know about they respect the whole process.
Yeah,
and it's true. I have gotten screwed over by actors before, and they were all men. Like if you get like an actress, they're always on time, and they're usually off book.
Isn't that refreshing?
It is. That's why I usually write female characters, because when I was starting out, I was like thinking about, okay, I have an idea, but I know an actress is going to be on time, be respectful, be responsible. So let's just write for a woman, anyone who's going to show up. Because the guys, they're more about themselves, and they move to New York in 3 weeks. They expect to be on Saturday Night Live. And
I know.
I don't want to deal with that ego.
I remember those days.
Right.
On the technical side, not the
right.
So what about The Evil Day? That struck me as a very interesting play because it talks about the punk rock days.
It does. That was. I had the funny thing about plays is that it's not one idea. It's usually two ideas put together. And that was when I read, I don't know, like hundreds and hundreds of plays. And when I read a play, I would make notes and see how the playwright did technical issues with the story and the characters and whatever else. So I had all these different styles in my head. And I just finished reading a book called No Shirt, No Blacks, No Irish, which was about the punk scene. And that book was put together by Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols, but he didn't write the book. He had all what he would call his contingency, put stories together about the book. It was a lot about Malcolm McLaren. He seemed like an interesting guy, so I put him in there. Nice. So I wanted to be about like the punk scene,
right,
as like a backdrop. And around that time, I read another book called The Easy Way to Stop Smoking, because I was smoking about a pack a day. They said, read this book. I read the book, and it got me stopped. I stopped smoking for about 5 years there until I, found this little
guy. I know. That's
but the book did work. And in that book, he was like, in the epitaph, he said something. It was like, you're gonna avoid reading this book because this book is gonna finally get you towards the evil day. The evil day is that day that you got to stop smoking cigarettes. So I was like, oh, wait a second. Okay, so there's that. They made plays about alcohol, heroin, cocaine. Yeah. Nobody made a play about nicotine addiction.
Right.
So I was like, let me do that, and I created a family. And I started off with realism, and then I went into naturalism, and then in the second act, I got into expressionism and Brechtian. I did some Brechtian stuff in there with
nice.
Symbols, and in the end, it was just straight up dark absurdist.
Did you get any accolades from this? I mean, was it?
No, because it was like people like, I don't know if it was. I don't want to sound pretentious saying it was like ahead of its time, but as far as I have seen, nobody's ever really done that. Every play was just one style. And this was a bunch of styles, and it was 90 minutes, so that's longer than usual.
Yeah.
And
there's a chat there. Where can we read your plays?
That's a good point. Thank you for that question. I have some short stories on SeanBehrens.com. You could check those out there, along with some details about each play. And
then the last one. We're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die.
That's like that could be current.
That's true.
Be a current play.
That was mainly in my drinking days. I'll say.
Oh, okay.
But I gave myself an obstruction, and I gave myself an obstruction. And if you're an artist of any sort, if you want to become more creative in whatever you do, give yourself an obstruction. And you'll find you will automatically become more creative. And that one is that I only wanted to use 4 actors, but I wanted to have as many characters as possible. So I have 30 characters and 4 actors in an expressionistic type of play where I have just characters just coming out of the main character's like psyche. I use Mark Twain. I use Plato. I use Valerie Solanas. I don't know if people know who that is. And I use all these characters that represent parts of her psyche coming out and talking to her. The play is about a woman who just she was sexually assaulted. She can't really come to terms with that. So she's going to fill out a journal, and by the end of that, she's going to end her own life.
The cops are not coming after you, right?
Me? No. I gave that stuff up in high school. You're never going to catch me.
I forgot to ask you, Sean. Where are we tonight?
Oh, right. We are in Midwood, Brooklyn.
Midwood, Brooklyn. Okay.
We are right on the edge. All the way over here are apartments, but all the way over there are houses, and I'm right on the border here.
You're right on the border.
Of Avenue O and Kings Highway. I have a horrible sense of direction. I don't even know where the bodega is. I asked my girlfriend before. She's like, "You've asked me this. We've had this conversation." I'm like, "Hey, I know.
There's a bodega on every corner."
I wanted to go to a certain one because I like the dude, and I wanted to say hello and whatever.
I want to talk a little bit about the process and inspiration for these plays that you write, and where you get your ideas from. And I think you've answered, at some point during our conversations. But I have a note here, and I looked at it. I was like, nah, this can't be my Sean. Uh, the Edward Albee Foundation. You know, you there's that's a it's like a retreat for writers, and you go there as a writer to chill and to get inspired or to clear your head, right? Am I
Correct.
right?
It's zero distractions.
Zero distractions. It's like, you're disconnected from the world type of thing. So
Yes.
did you happen along this place? And
Yes, I did. That was back when Edward Albee himself read all the things, and I got in. I couldn't believe it. I was the youngest one by far in there, which I couldn't believe that either.
Really?
In the back of my head, I was like, they must have made a mistake. But I was there. I got there early. I stayed late. I tried to make friends with the groundskeeper, and I was just there. And that's where I wrote The Evil Day.
Oh, okay.
In about like 4 weeks, I had a first draft, and then I waited a year and shopped it, and then it. No,
but I have a note here. I don't know if you want to talk about it. It's like some people, they return their library books.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, let me just tell you about Edward Albee. He came and he met with everybody, and we barbecued and we talked with him, but he got it. He helped as many people as he could since the 60s. So he has a lot of friends, including me. And all these friends from his help actually got somewhere playwriting stuff, and they would just send him books.
Uh-huh.
And he would with a letter like, Edward, thank you for all the kind words and this and that for reviewing my play and blah blah blah. They would, and they would send their plays to him, and he would put that letter in the book and just put it on a shelf. Now this place is like a converted farmhouse, 2 stories. It's pretty big, 2 bathrooms, 6 studios, and everywhere are books. There's a shed out there in the thing, books, boxes and boxes of books, novels and plays, and some. They have some educational things, like theater between the wars, like things like that. And I was like, well, they're not gonna miss. They're not cataloged, any of these books. There's no Dewey Decimal System, so I'm gonna shop around because they're not gonna notice. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to read the books. So right. There's 2 things there. So I went around and I'm like, oh, this one and this one. I didn't take that many, just like a brown paper bag filled. Wow. And they didn't care. They didn't notice. They liked me. It's like, what are they going to do with the book? So I took a bunch, and I read them all. And
wow.
But I figured, it's like, yeah, I guess I could have asked permission, but then they would have said no or weird.
Yeah, would have given you that time.
They were like the hippie types. They would have been like, well, why are you just take it? Now you're involving me in your crime. Just do it. Nobody really cares. It was just like a groundskeeper and his wife, and they had, hippies over, drink wine, do sculptures. They saw them through the window. I was like, can I knock and join in? But I was, I didn't want to interrupt their fun. But
that's so cool. That's okay. That's in that's out here in Long Island, right? That's
it is Montauk,
all the way out here on the East End.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
All the way out there.
Is it open to the public, or you got to be a writer?
I suppose it is, but they don't. It's off the beaten track, and they don't advertise. So I guess if you could find a place,
right,
because they're all like hippie, artsy fartsy types. They're gonna hey, yeah, whatever, sit down,
right.
You have a guitar? Ooh, yeah, cool. They're like those types of guys. They're not gonna be like, you're trespassing. They're not like that. So I guess that's why they put the house off the beaten track.
So that's where you got your inspiration from for your play, The Evil Dead.
It is, yeah. When Edward came and we were cooking for him, and I got volunteered to be the cook because everybody was nervous and they just wanted me to cook all this barbecue chicken. So I cooked it all, and then because I was cooking, they all sat around the park bench, and there was only one spot left next to Edward, and they were all scared of him. So I had to sit next to Edward, and we were talking and whatever else, and I was just awkward, and I had a buzz on, and I didn't know what to say. So I turned to him. I'm like, so what's it like being the world's greatest living playwright? And he laughed, and he's like, oh, and he really couldn't answer the question because I guess he didn't see himself like that.
Was he eccentric? I mean, did he have like a personality about him? Did he wear like one of those fluffy little scarves?
No, he didn't. He was very unassuming. He was very assuming, and he drove a Jeep Cherokee, which I always thought was an interesting fact. But people would talk, and then he would chime in with wisdom, and they would listen, and then they would just talk some more, and then he would chime in with wisdom, and then he turned to me and he's like, your Mark Twain scene is too long, and I'm like, what? And I didn't even know what he was talking about. He's like, your Mark Twain scene is too long. It's 5 pages. It ought to be 1. And I'm like, what? Wow. And then it clicked. Because I used We're All Gonna Die as my writing sample to get into the Albee Foundation. And I didn't think he read all the samples, but he did. And months later, 6 months after I got in, because I went in September
he got you, man. Yeah.
He remembered it. He remembered it. And it was like so weird, just like getting a note from him, but that he remembered it. He's into that real absurdist stuff, So
yeah, that's cool.
And then I made it a point to read most of his stuff, especially the ones who won Pulitzers, and see what I could garner for like.
Yeah, sure. Come on, you're sitting next to gold there, my friend.
Yeah, it is. I wish I had something more to say, but he broke his leg.
Did he pass though?
He did, yes.
Yeah, he's no longer with us.
Well, he was getting up there. He was like the last one of the greats. He was like all the other ones, like Robert Guar passed, Neil Simon passed, Arthur Miller passed. He was like the last. He was like
wow, wow. That's got to be an experience of a lifetime, for you anyway. I mean,
it is. I still remember it.
Yeah.
I had a whole thing going. I remember I was so excited to get there. I had so much energy. I moved in. I was there for 6 weeks, and I didn't know what to do. I had my own bottle of rum. I put it in a drawer because I was afraid the others would drink it. So that was in my room. And then I blasted the White Stripes, and I just danced around my room until I was breaking a sweat because I'm like,
Yeah.
God, I remember that.
We have a couple of chats that he was brilliant, and
it was brilliant. Free told women.
And you're lucky to have him comment on your work. I want to talk about writing style, and you as a playwright, and you dipping into the screenplay world and film, and there's different styles when you watch a film, or when you witness a play and you're sitting in the audience and you're listening to the play. So I have 3 clips that I want to show. And the first clip is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Now, it's a scene where I call Nurse Cratchit, where she gives out the medicine to Jack Nicholson, and I'll set it up, but it's where he watches the TV and he pretends it's a baseball game. So let's watch the clip, and then I want you to describe what the writer was trying to do here in this scene, okay?
Okay.
Come on, there's got to be one guy in here that's not a total fucking nut.
Mac?
Chief! The chief! Ah! Chief! Nurse Ratchet! Nurse Ratchet, look! Look! The chief put his hand up. Look, he voted. Would you please turn the television set on? The chief has got his hand up right there. The chief voted. Now, will you please turn the television set on?
Mr. McMurphy, the meeting was adjourned and the vote was closed.
But the vote was 10-8. The chief, he's got his hand up. Look.
No, Mr. McMurphy. When the meeting was adjourned, the vote was 9-9.
Oh, come on. You're not going to say that now. You're going to pull that henhouse shit now. When the vote, the chief just voted, it was 10-9. Now, I want that television set turned on right now.
You don't need your chair. What you need is a mop. You got to get that attention working. Keswick. Come on. No, you have a work assignment. Mr. Hardy.
Koufax kicks. He delivers. It's up the middle. It's a base hit. Richardson is rounding first. He's going for second. The ball's in the deep right center. Davison over in the corner, cut the ball off. Here comes the throw. Richardson rounding first. He goes into second. He slides. He's in there. He's safe. It's a double. He's in there, Martini. Look at Richardson. He's on second base. Koufax is in big fucking trouble. Big trouble, baby. All right. Here's Tresh as the next batter. Tresh looks in. Koufax. Koufax gets the signs from Roseboro. He kicks once. He pumps. He fires. It's a strike. Koufax's curveball is snapping off like a fucking firecracker. All right, here he comes for the next pitch. Tresh swings. It's a long fly ball to deep left center. It's going. It's
going. What a great movie! I mean, I could watch that over and over again, and I tell you before you start, but there's so many actors in there that became like tremendous actors. Danny DeVito and Christopher Lloyd, and the guy, a very a well-known character actor at the time there, the Vincent Schiavelli. Is it Schiavelli?
Vincent Schiavelli.
With the long face, and he was in.
He was in Batman Returns. He was in Ghost.
That's right, Ghost. Right. Ghost. Yeah. So talk to me about this. As a writer, where do you see this? I mean, it's a great scene because there's a lot going on there.
It is. What I like about that is that Nurse Ratched and McMurphy are arguing over its control versus freedom. And
right.
Nurse Ratched loves control. She has these guys under her control, and that's why she's the antagonist. She wants to keep all these guys here, make them feel less than, and keep them here underneath her control. And then McMurphy comes in and upsets the process because he's freedom, and he just wants to watch the World Series. And there's nothing more American than that.
Yeah.
But they're not arguing over control. He's not saying to her, "You like controlling these guys because you're sick in the head," and she's like, "No, I'm not. Well, you're just a long-haired hippie, and the hell with you." They're not saying that. They're not saying that. They're like, there was a vote. We used the democratic process. McMurphy won. You got to put on the American stuff, the World Series, and she's like, and she backhanded her way, be like, "No, she closed the vote before we even finished," and no, she's not. So instead of arguing what they're arguing about, they use a representation of the World Series. And then McMurphy saying, "You can't control me." Instead of saying, "You can't control me, I'm going to watch the World Series whether you like it or not." And then if you notice in the scene, when they're arguing, they shuffle all the guys into the room, control. They're in a room, control, and then he's exacerbating about the World Series. Then the guys come out again. Yeah, and then they're all cheering along with him. And then, and then it cuts to Nurse Ratched saying that, he's defying my control. And I like that writing style because it's based on action. Yeah. I listened to a lot of interviews, and Bo Goldman was one of the screenwriters who adapted the novel. They brought in 100 screenwriters, and every screenwriter came on in and just gave them philosophical views about what they would do. But Bo Goldman got the job because he said, as soon as McMurphy gets uncuffed, I want him to kiss one of the guards, which is in the movie. As soon as he gets uncuffed, he goes, "Woo!" And that's when Bo Goldman got the job, because those producers saw it's like, okay, instead of giving me philosophical ideas and whatever else, you're giving me action. You're giving me a scene. You're taking that very wordy novel. I read it 5 times. It's very wordy. Right. And you're putting it into action, because there's no point in having an inner monologue, because the novel is like 80% inner monologue from the chief, even in his delusions. But you don't see any of that because you really can't, you can't do that. It's more interesting if you just show the actions. So that's why I like that. It also won Best Adapted Screenplay in 1975, along with actor, actress, screenplay, and picture. meaning it won the top 5 Academy Awards. Which
Yeah, no, I mean I think that year it cleaned up. I mean,
it did, yeah. I mean, and that was the same year as Barry Lyndon, which is one of my favorite films. So it was like, it's a masterpiece. But that's
the other one I have is called Revolutionary Road with DiCaprio and Kate Winslet, and this scene is they're having an argument, but there's laughter and anger in this scene out of Kate Winslet. So let's take a look at that, and we'll come back and talk.
He's fucking insane. Do you know what the definition of insanity is?
No! Do you?
Yes, it's the inability to relate to another human being. It's the inability to love. April. April. April! April!
The inability. Oh, Frank, you really are a wonderful talker. If black could be made into white by talking, you'd be the man for the job. So now I'm crazy because I don't love you, right? Is that the point?
No, wrong! You're not crazy, and you do love me. That's the point, April.
But I don't. I hate you. You were just some boy who made me laugh at a party once, and now I loathe the sight of you. In fact, if you come any closer, if you touch me or anything, I think I'll scream.
Oh, come on, stop this, April. Fuck you, April! Fuck you and all your hateful...
What are you gonna do now? Are you gonna hit me to show me how much you love me?
Don't worry, I can't be bothered. You're not worth the trouble it would take to hit you. You're not worth the powder it would take to blow you up. You are an empty, hollow shell of a woman. I mean, what the hell are you doing in my house if you hate me so much? Why the hell are you married to me? What the hell are you doing carrying my child? I mean, why didn't you just get rid of it when you had the chance? Because listen to me, I got news for you. I wish to God that you had.
Wow, that's I tell you, they're tremendous, man. Kate Winslet and DiCaprio are just tremendous. I mean, that blew me away, that scene, when I saw that.
It's always nice to see a Leo freak out.
That's right.
He's really good at it. That's a Sam Mendes, and he comes from the theater.
So good. Yeah,
he comes from the theater, and Kate Winslet and Sam Mendes were married at the time.
Okay,
but,
so you're touching on something interesting because with Mendes coming from the theater and now working with the film, he's incorporating theatrics that you would see on a stage in front of the camera.
It is. Especially there, you notice they like went from room to room as the scene changed beats. Especially when she was like, he was yelling at her, and then she laughed, and then she like went back to yelling again. That was what they call in the biz a beat of action. That's like when any scene goes from being about one thing,
right,
there's a beat of action, and then it goes to another. And they broke that up there with some sort of physicality or like whatever they could do. On that day, they chose her laughing, and then as they were going through the apartment, just changed visually, I guess, and just to see, where like the scene was going until in the end she was backed up against the wall because he was kind of winning the argument, and I don't say winning the argument, he was winning the anger competition because he got the most angry, and you can kind of see she was backed up against a wall there, giving some sort of physicality to what like the scene is about. And what's different between this clip and the previous clip is that in this clip they were just talking about or yelling about, they were arguing about their feelings, but they were really feeling at the time. There was no representation over whatever little quibble that married couples have. Whatever you could think of, you didn't pack my lunch right, all this other stuff. But they were just like in each other's faces.
Yeah.
I kind of like how,
very powerful, and it's something to. It's got to be fun to write that. I mean,
it is. It is because like when you're writing, there was I don't know if we could curse here.
yeah, you could drink, curse,
Okay.
smoke. You smoke.
Okay, I just don't know. I don't want to curse too much. I know it's a family program, but
We try.
and there's one school of writing of like how fucked up could I make this? You're writing it like what's the most fucked up thing I could do to these people, and you try to do it, and
Sensationalize it,
yes, sensationalize. Try to get things like to turn up the volume, what they call like raising the stakes.
Right.
Like, okay, after this argument, their marriage really is in trouble. They're just not going through a rough time. Now it's on the precipice. Now this is it. And if you watch the film, this like soon after this, she leaves the house and runs into the woods, and he stays there. And then he like chases after her, and then she screams at him in the woods and stuff.
Yeah.
So those are different writing styles, depending, of course. Let me just say this on the character and on the setting, because if you're in an insane asylum, you're not going to be arguing your feelings or screaming them. Right. But if you're in your own home and a married couple, you are, and that's how like the different writing styles fits, because it's not just like you wanted a comedy or drama. It's not as blunt as that. You have realism, naturalism, satire, farce. You have other things to choose from, which only help the writer. One last thing. People think with the whole idea of structure and genre and all that other stuff, they think it's for the audience. It's not. It's so the writer knows what to do. So the writer isn't.
Where his characters are in the scene.
Right. Well, it's like so the writer doesn't have an infinity amount of choices to make. Right. If the writer is, well, you got to know what not to do. If you know what not to do, then what to do is just so much more easier, because writing is so hard anyway.
Yeah.
Whatever you could do to make it easier, do that. Hunter S. Thompson drank. So did Faulkner. Other writers, they don't, and both are fine. But whatever makes it easier for you, do that. And some they lean into the genre. Like meeting expectations, but then subverting them to make it interesting.
So I guess the liquor was running wild at the foundation.
It was, and one thing about that film, that's a long argument. That I think that scene was like 6 minutes, because most.
No, I mean what I showed wasn't 6 minutes. No.
Well, like in real life.
Oh, you mean in real life?
In real life, they're like it could be a half an hour or whatever else.
Yeah.
But in a movie, arguments are like 2 minutes,
right?
3, but that one's like really long. It's like 6 minutes. I remember seeing that in theaters. I was like,
yeah, it's powerful.
It was, yeah.
And the last clip I have is one of my favorites. Total Recall. Schwarzenegger with is it
Sharon Stone?
With
Michael Ironside.
With what?
Sharon Stone, Michael Ironside.
Yes. But it's the scene where he reveals, is it Coda? Coming out. And I mean, when I first saw this scene, it just blew me away. But I want to hear some feedback from you on where this writer was going with this. Check it out.
What do you want, Mr. Quay? The same as you, to remember. But why? To be myself again. You are what you do. A man is defined by his action, not his memory. Please, take my hand. Now, open your mind to me, please. Open your Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind. Open your mind.
that was good. That was
it
good.
on DVD, man.
What's
DVD,
that?
buddy. I have it on DVD.
Oh, there you go.
Buddy.
There you go.
Yeah. Special edition. Jealous? I just got to show you that.
Wow. And just a sidetrack, like when you try to go buy that movie, it's still not discounted. It's like, you still got to pay big.
It's from 1992 because I guess you could say, oh, it's like cheesy and it's Martians and mutants and all this other stuff. It's like, sure, fine, that's great. It doesn't matter, but how is it done? Because it's like even like Cuckoo's Nest is a great film. So's Total Recall, just because they're different genres. And you know what, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's a fine actor. I don't care what people give him a bad rap. I don't know. And
I think he is.
it depends on what he does. In this thing, I think he's phenomenal. And what I like about this is that the story gets the story goes from, all right, we're in the future on Mars, and then it gets crazier and crazier, and then people are after him, and then what's real, and then but it comes to this point where how crazier can it get? Oh, we have a dude in another dude, and that dude is some sort of weirdo psychic. And I'm just telling you this now, it sounds stupid and weird, but we just saw it, and it fits exactly in the world where we get to a pinnacle, and that pinnacle doesn't always have to be a building exploding or murder. It could just be how fucked up can we make this?
Right.
And then he's holding the hands, and it goes into naturalism where Quado is like, open your mind to me. Open your mind. But if you just think about that, open your mind, just those words, it's a very spiritual saying, and it works on a lot of different things. And in a lot of different ways, and this is where when they say the movies answer the riddles of life, or the movies answers life's riddles, and that's an answer there. It's like if you're stuck in a quandary, watch Total Recall, and you'll learn. Open your mind. I don't know. I guess that's kind of corny, but
it's just the way the whole scene was shot and everything. And
it was, and that was one of those writers was Dan O'Bannon. And if you don't know who Dan O'Bannon is, he was the guy who wrote the original script for Alien, and he was one of the minds behind Return of the Living
there's a couple
Dead.
of writers on that movie, along with I have it here, John Pullitt, Philip Dick, Ronald Schuett.
Philip Dick. He wrote the original shorts. Story.
Great stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, but I always like Dan O'Bannon gets in there because he was like the epitome of 80s horror, and I just always like that stuff. And I could talk about Total Recall.
Oh yeah, no, me too. Chats. Looks like my great Uncle Santo.
Join the club, baby.
Yeah. And Jay Bird Baseball checking in on the live talk show. Okay,
hey,
great. Thanks for checking in there, Jay Bird. I think he's from Pennsylvania, I believe. Thanks.
Tops has a facility in Scranton. So I don't know if that's. Pennsylvania is pretty big, but.
Yeah, no. We're going to be talking baseball. We're going to be talking about baseball cards and stuff here in a minute, but just to finish off, as far as writing styles and what you do for the regular day-to-day job, this is where you're very interesting. You have this other side of you as a playwright, and you're producing plays, and it's for the love of your heart and all that. But then you're taking your creativity into your job as a pop culture expert at Topps Baseball Card Company.
Yes.
And that there in itself. So you're part of decision making on where things go in the company, structure wise, or?
Yes, I don't know. I want to say weasel. I weasel my way into the room.
Weasel's a good word.
I guess that's a good word. Because like I like Tops. I was a temp for a number of years, and I've been in a lot of offices. And although I do prefer office life as opposed to another type of job, Tops is a very open sort of place, and they'll at least listen to you once. But if you know what you're saying, if you show enthusiasm, if you're willing to listen, to contribute, they will let you do that.
Interesting.
And so I got myself into some rooms. I mean, after like about a year, I was working there because I wanted to learn the job and not get fired. There's that.
Yeah.
Just really wanted to know the politics, and then just know where the company is going, because Tops is America's best baseball card sellers. And we have other brands too.
Oh, hands down.
Like Bazooka Joe and Mars Attacks and Garbage Pail Kids, and we're into Star Wars and Mysticons. But the VP of product development really wants to get the company. He's trying to shift the company into being a pop culture company. Not get rid of baseball. That's always going to be there because it's a pillar of America, and everyone knows that. But that's with that pillar, with that strong foundation, we still innovate with those designs and those materials that we make to make those baseball cards. It's like, well, how can we take that knowledge, that experience, and bring it into other things? Not just other sports, but just things that aren't baseball, and see what works, what we like, what sticks, what's relevant now, what's fun, what's interesting, and all these obscure, open-ended questions. And they all kick around ideas, and nobody wants to be wrong. I'm like the guy who's most wrong, because I just thought it's a spiritual thing. It's like I'm the first one to raise my hand and be like, what does that word mean? I remember in writing school, I raised because the word exposition got said in class, and I was like, I'm going to sound like an idiot, but I was like, what does exposition mean? And it got explained to me, and then 3 other people were like, thank you for asking that. I had no idea. I was like, that's cool, man. You don't have to know everything. It's cool. But just trying to get in there and just see where things can go, because now media is so spread out. It's on your phone, it's on your computer, in several different forms, that it's like, okay, so how can we get that pop culture stuff, what we offer, like the happiness, joy, like the brief relief, just it being cool, and all this I don't want to say like obscured words into your hands, how you could enjoy it, all these other things. And it's a slow process, because they don't want to make a mistake, they don't want to lose money, of course, which I completely respect and understand.
Sure.
But they just want to test the waters and everything else.
Well, so, as a collector, I do collect, not much anymore, but I have some cards, and I noticed, through the years, especially, in the 70s when I was collecting, I used to take the cards and flip them and through leanies and put them in my spokes, and it ruined the cards and the value of them, but now you can't do that to these cards. These cards are a work of art. You get these cards and the kids today, they're looking at these cards, for their value, and just being so awesome. You got players' uniforms, chips, relics.
Yeah, that's another thing you do. So for you and your viewers out there, what we do now is they're called relics.
Yeah.
I'll explain what that is. So let's say I'm a famous baseball player and I play a game in this shirt. What we do at Tops is that we buy the shirt, chop it up in little squares, sometimes big squares, sometimes tiny squares, depending. Put that in the card, and then sell the card. So when you get the card, you have a piece of your favorite player's uniform right there, where you could rub your thumb on it and stuff. And I just always like that, because it's connecting, the person with the player, and they're bridging that gap as much as we can, and we do that with that. I'm a huge Walking Dead fan, and we made a lot of products for that, and I got up as much as I can because like I work there, we get what they call product distribution, so we get free boxes of stuff. And apparently, Walking Dead isn't as popular so much anymore. So I would take my gold label baseball cards and go to somebody and be like, "Hey, I'll trade you my gold label for your Walking Dead display box." You're like, "Sure," and I would switch it up. And I had so many. But like, my mom is a big Walking Dead fan too, so I would visit home with the cards. We would organize the cards and be like, "Ooh, Negan, ooh." We would have all kinds of, So
hey, I got to ask you though, because as a card collector, you go to these stores, you buy the packs, and then you hope and pray when you open it up, and there's a relic card, or there's a one of those cards that I was lucky enough to have, and I guess the question that I have is, as a consumer and as someone at Topps that's part of the whole distribution end of things. Is there rhyme or reason to have these selective cards in different packs? So is it a lottery? Is it process of elimination? Should I buy a case to get maybe 3 of these cards that might be worth $10 a piece or something?
Yes, you can. I mean, if you want, I guess on the box level, the smallest thing we sell is a display box, and depending on the brand, you have like at least what we call hits. So it would be like 2 on-card autographs, or an on-card autograph and a relic, or whatever it is, and you're guaranteed that. And if you
buy a box, or
if you buy a box, like a display box.
A display box, I see. Okay.
Right, those are those boxes where
right.
Hobby store, and they have a little thing that folds up, and the packs are there.
Yeah.
They get one of like one of those things, or you're guaranteed a thing, or you can buy one of the higher label brands like Gold Label, or 5-Star, or Transcendent. Even though those are really expensive, and we sell out every year. It's amazing.
Wow. Yeah, because I mean, years ago there was the wax packs. Remember those with the bubble gum in them and everything? But there was a lot of like wrongdoers out there. That would take the good cards out and package it up, and there you go.
Right. No, it's all.
Now it's all sealed, and you can't look through it. And I tell you, baseball cards.
I tried, because when I would get the box, I would try to feel against the edges and whatever.
Yeah.
But no, none of that.
None of that happens anymore. Huh?
We got this thing coming out now where we put the tip of the pen that they use to sign the things in the card.
What?
Yes.
What do you mean the tip of the pen?
They take the tip of the pen off.
Yeah.
Put that in the card. Sell the card.
The tip of the pen.
The tip of the pen. It's a thick card. It's pretty thick. But
okay. So that could be like a relic too in the card.
Yes, it's encased in it's complicated, but we use like special paper with cellophane, and then filler to make sure it's trapped, and like.
I never heard of such a thing.
Wow. Yeah, they keep on thinking of new things. They also we make these things called parallels that are only X amount of them are made, and they're stamped on the card. So you could get a card, you could see on the card in gold foil, this is 1 of 25 or 17 of 50. So there is collectability even now. Even if you buy like 10,000 cards, there's still one superfractor out there.
Oh, wow.
And I remember when Ohtani went pro before he got injured, we had one superfractor of Ohtani. And some Japanese businessman on Twitter announced, if I get this Ohtani superfractor, I'll give you $60,000, no questions asked. And so we're like, what the things on?
God.
I didn't even rip my box up. I was just praying it was in there. I was like, please, I'm cradling it. It wasn't in there. But we do things to still make it collectible, because that's one of the attractive things to like.
How did you get involved with Topps? I
was going through a lot of temp jobs, and I was a temp there, and they liked me because they were switching like systems. So they needed all of next year's products in the computer within a month, which is pretty hefty because they needed to get everything in there just so they could switch the system over to a new operating system. And they needed a guy to get it all in there after another, spreadsheet. And because I was a temp so much, and I guess because I trained myself on writing scripts, I'm what I like to call a monotony specialist. So all that stuff you do, that's just brain draining, and your eyes go like this and whatever else.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen to me. I could right there, all like straight up. I listen to a podcast or a lecture on psychology or whatever else, and I'm after another, and they're like, you know what, you're hired. We like you and whatever else. So I got on, and because I worked at a lot of temp jobs, I had a little fear about getting let go. So I really hunkered down, learned the whole thing because it gets pretty complicated. Like the cards, but also the packing out process. Because if those hits aren't in that box, we're going to hear about it, and that's serious. Like we're going to hear about it from the customer, and that's serious because then we got to make the customer happy.
Yeah,
or they'll do bad reviews or like whatever else.
So there's a chat up there, interesting chat. Are you familiar with Project 2020? If so, is it a second edition in the works?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Interesting.
I should write that down.
Interesting.
Project 2020?
It's
Thank you, Finzarello. I'm gonna
Fred Inzerillo.
I'm gonna give that a shot. Project 2020. But let me just explain that because of the whole COVID thing, and we're all of us are working from home now, that I don't know if they've been scrambling. No, they're not scrambling, but it's their brainstorming is the volume has gotten turned up because they're like, well, what can we do if the stores are closed? We can't get to the stores. We need to do things. There's no baseball.
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
Well, there's baseball, but I mean,
yeah,
you're not taking pictures of. Well, I guess you could, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, see, that's the thing because that's like the one thing about baseball that everybody loves is tradition, stability. You count everything in baseball; it's going to be there. So, but when it's not, people get nervous. So it's like, how can we ease everybody's nerves, especially with baseball? Like baseball, I still remember when there was a strike in '94. It was on the front page news every day. It was like, oh my God, it's almost like anyway, I want to get it, but okay. But
we could talk forever about
yes,
this.
We can. But I'm telling you from the inside source, we are getting stuff together and out there. I've been busier now working from home than I have been in the office just because we're just coming up with new things and just trying to get in there and like meeting after meeting after meeting.
I mean, we lost one of the great Tom Seaver the other day. And do you guys do something special for that? As far as a past player, a Hall of Famer that passed like a Tom Seaver, would you do a special card or like relic card or something?
Well, I mean, we have a little commemoration in like the office too, because one of the things about the office is that we got the giant baseball cards around the office. So there's that. So there's a big focus on that, especially if I don't want to say worship, but the admiration of baseball there too.
We should do a Buzz Talk Live at Topps Baseball. I think
they were, I mean, I don't know if you're just saying that offhand, but they would be about that because they're about they do Topps.
I don't know if that's like legal for them to do because they're representing.
They do something similar to that because I walk around the conference and I can't go in the conference room because they're doing live chats with customers. But
that would be cool.
We will do like a commemoration card, especially for Tom Seaver, probably in a couple designs, probably in a gold frame, and
nice.
Just about his career. And we have a whole warehouse filled with old uniforms and other.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, in Scranton actually. So there's a whole, and it's all cataloged, and they're serious about that stuff too. I talked with the guy who runs the warehouse. He's really precise like 17 thread emails about anyway, but we get, well, bless his heart. If it messes up, it's on him, and he's not. I'll tell you that. He's got it all under lock and key. Bless his heart. He's a young kid too. He's like 25, I think. But yes, we will have a commemoration Tom Seaver thing. I'm gonna look into that and hopefully get back to you, because that's definitely going to be because we always do. Things like we got to remember these guys because they're like a part of this tradition. Yes, they're one player for one team, let's say, but that's what it is.
I mean, they're Hall of Famers. I mean, there's other questions up here too. Anything on Garrick and how much does a rookie mantle go for? I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
Tens of thousands.
And
here you go. Go to tops.com in the menu drop down and click on Project 2020. Beautiful thick cards presented in hard secure cases.
Thank you, Frinzarello. I appreciate that. Look at that.
There you go.
I'm just reading
Johnny on the spot over there.
Yeah, because sometimes they do get thick because there's a lot of different types of collectors. Because there's the collectors that are kids and get allowances, and there's collectors that are have jobs and are older and have have excess income. So we have a lot of products that span that. We go to like opening day baseball, which is geared more towards like the kid, and Fire, which is geared more towards like the teenager, and like Transcendent, which is geared more towards like the millionaire CEO, because the Transcendent is like $20,000 a case.
Wow.
You get a case, like a little chest. It's like a little chest thing, and it's all in there. And these are one and only. And if you buy a Transcendent box, you get a VIP ticket to go down to a
is this something new? I don't think I've heard of this.
It is new. They've been doing it for about 4 years, 5 years now. And then you get a ticket to the party, and then where you meet some MLB players who will be there, and you can say hello and talk to them.
Oh, that's cool.
It is, yeah. I met Noah Syndergaard. He was in the office once shooting a little promo thing.
Oh, nice.
And I'll tell you that
He's a big guy.
He's a giant.
Yeah.
He's a giant.
Yeah.
He's not. He's like when you look at him,
something like that, right?
Oh my God. It's like when you see him, you feel like he's standing closer to you because he's a giant. His
so
arms.
Big. Yeah, I know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's a freak. We got to get him back on the field, though.
He's pretty big with that hair. Oh my! I'm just glad.
The Project 2020 cards are designed by artists. Okay, all right. How much is a rookie mantle go for these days?
Depends. Actually, my uncle, he has a rookie mantle. I've seen it once. It's in thick glass with screws.
Wow.
And one of the corners is torn.
Ooh,
and that was like 12,000. So there's that. So I guess a mantle might be upwards of like 120.
Oh my God.
So there's that.
Wow.
But they do get up there. But you see, that's the thing now, because people are like, I got to collect all the cards, so everybody collects the cards, and then it drives the price down, which is why we make the parallels that there's only 50 made of this card, 25 made of this card.
Yeah, you limit the supply,
right.
So this way it drives the price up.
And then the on-card autographs and all that other stuff, just so we can keep the attraction in there. And what makes a baseball card, it's not just like, ooh, I have this, that's cool, but I'm the only one that has this. There's me and 49 others that have this. And that, and that makes it feel special, which is like and it's so weird. It's a piece of cardboard, but it still makes you feel special. It still gives you all those feelings. And I just always enjoy that.
It just brings people back to their youth, holding a card in their hand.
But also something bigger than them that they're like connected to.
I think it's cool. I think it's a good thing. And you can
hold it in your hands too, which is like a thing that, as opposed to the intangible things, like a movie, I could hold the DVD in my hand. Yeah. It's not the movie, but I could hold that baseball card in my hand. And I could feel it with my fingers, especially with the relics. And it's just another level of like admiration and attraction that that I like.
The first baseball player, what was that? Baseball player on a card was Jim Crichton in 1846.
Wow.
Huh. Oh, that's from his screenplay. Oh, that's Frank.
Oh, that's Frank.
Yeah. So Frank has wrote a screenplay on
Told
baseball.
me, yeah. They let him in the library at the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. So are you working on anything that you want to tease or?
Sure. I'm getting a novel that I wrote a novel, and I'm getting it edited now.
Okay.
Just so I could keep busy with things, and I wrote it in an effort to make it into to adapt it to a streaming series, because it's like, yes, I'm an artist, yes, I'm creative, but at the same time, I'm looking at the long money.
Yeah, sure.
But I wrote a novel. I taught myself how to write a novel. Then I wrote one, taking from my favorite authors. I trained myself, and it was a long process, but I enjoy the process. I love the process, which keeps me going back to the thing.
Yeah.
And so I wrote that. It's being edited now. It's a tongue-in-cheek zombie comedy, self-aware.
A zombie comedy.
The one thing about this zombie comedy is that,
and you're saying that with a straight face with a sailor's cap on.
It is, yeah. Got the whole barrage here.
Okay.
Let me just say this. I love all genres, and I study them. And the one thing about zombie films is that every character in a zombie film ever has no idea what a zombie is, which is fine. They're all surprised. They're like, what is this? But this novel, I wrote it in there that all my characters in my novel have seen all the zombie movies. So it's like they know what's going on. They know how to kill it immediately. And because I said it in New Jersey, where I'm from, in a boring town, some of the kids in the novel, they kind of like it. It's kind of cool having zombies. It's like, cool. We have something to do. We're going to go kill some zombies and then go to the diner and smoke some cigarettes. Nice. It's that sort of idea, which I've never seen before, and I also use voodoo, which in the early days of zombies from the 1930s, it was originally a voodoo thing.
Oh, wow.
And then in 1968 with Night of the Living Dead, it was a radiation storm. Then in 1985 with Return of the Living Dead, written by Dan O'Bannon, then he induced the whole chemical thing and the whole brains. That was 1985. So it's a bigger genre than just from like 80s horror. So I wanted to get back in there, because then I could have like people fight in voodoo magic fights, which I have, and so I wanted to do something like that, and I wanted to make it encompassing enough characters about the town, just so hopefully one day it'll be adapted to a streaming series. There will be enough content there, and if I ever get it published, hopefully I will. I'm gonna mail it to Kevin Smith. That's the first thing I do. Like, Kevin, I grew up in New Jersey. I'm sure you know what that means.
Yes.
If you ever wanted to do television, read this or something, because I've seen a lot of interviews with him and his podcasts. He seems like a cool enough guy where he'll at least give you a shot, at least one shot.
That's what you need. You need a shot. And hopefully, tonight is the first step to that shot for you. And you want to tell the folks where to visit your stuff again?
Sure. SeanBehrens.com. SEAN B as in boy EHRENS. You could get my list of detailed plays there, along with some short story samples and a way to get in touch with me. I'm an easygoing guy. I met George through LinkedIn, just saying, hey, man, you're into film, me too. Let's chat about film sometime. And George, then he got in. Then he's like, who's this kid? He got into me. He saw my things. We talked on the phone. He's like, all right, let me bring you on the show. So
You're a character.
Well, thank you, George. But meaning, like, I'm open. I'm out there. I'm not pretentious like my cohorts that I've known. That's not bad now, those guys. But but it's just, that's just what it is, and this is just like who I am. I also finished a romantic comedy
Oh, nice.
Because I do love all genres. This is a screenplay, and I sent it to industrialscripts.com twice. If you don't know what that is, it's a professional reading service. So you send them your screenplay, you pay a fee, of course, and they bring back very detailed notes. And they're notes that they're not your friends, because you give your screenplay to a friend, they're going to say, yeah, I liked it. That doesn't help you. You give it to industrialscripts.com, they're going to say, like, this is wrong, this is boring, I like this, but this is stupid. And like, oh, okay. And then, but I did that twice. I sent it in once, made the notes, sent it in again, got back other notes. So now I'm at, and I was staring at it for about like 3 weeks. So like now I'm at that point. So it's done. And I'm emailing some contacts. I have it now. It's like, hey, did you ever want to be in a romantic comedy? Here, and send it out and see where that goes. Because I wanted to focus on marketability. From my playwriting days, I exercise my creativeness, my creativity, my artistic expression, how weird things I can do, experimented with strange things, just so I could learn. Things. So I'm like, okay, let me just do a romantic comedy. But it's not in 3 acts. I wrote it in sequences because what William Goldman says is that give me the same thing, only different. So it's like, okay, how can I do that? So you have your standard rom-com, but it's not in 3 acts, it's in sequences. And I thought that could give it a little edge. It's also the lead role. The lead role is the woman. So that's something else. It's kind of like Trainwreck. But my first draft was before Trainwreck. I just want to say that personally. But so it has that edge there too. And so that's just what I'm trying to do. Just like keep on giving my own self obstructions. Meaning, like, how can I make it marketable as an artist? How can I make it marketable, but yet still something that I want to watch? And then,
does that ring a bell? What Frank is saying, MGM? Is it just
MGM? Yeah.
I mean, is it just MGM?
That's from my screenplay. Yeah, I'm not sure if. I'm not sure if William Goldman said that, but who said that? I think it was some studio head, Brandon Tartikoff. I forget.
That's NBC, isn't it?
He is, but he made his rounds around. Before he was the head of NBC, he was in the movies, but I forgot.
Sean, I tell you, you're such an interesting guy, and I'm so glad to have you on the show today. I mean, you're chock full of information, and you've I don't know, man. You've turned the corner in your writings and what you've wrote, and you still got a long way to go. And I tell you, you're a writing phenom. And best of luck with the Topps company and baseball and cards, and just all the best to you.
Thank you, George, for having me on the show and giving me a chance on the show. So I appreciate that and the exposure I'm getting from this, and I hope to be on the show again.
Yeah.
If you ever need to fill a spot or whatever else.
I think what we should do, and I'll say it right now on the show live, I think we should have you back when things open up and you go back to work. And I'd love to do an interview, either a remote interview with Topps Baseball, and maybe, later on, if you do something in the theater and with act, I mean, just to open up the show and the dynamics.
Just like check in with you, I guess. Yeah, I'll just give you a text.
Check in with
I'll give you a text, and if it fits in your schedule, of course.
Yeah.
I
think that would be awesome.
All right. Yeah. Cool. That's cool.
Okay. Have a good one.
See you, George.
All right, buddy.
See you, Frank. See you, Frank.
Great. I mean, Sean is amazing. I learned a lot tonight about writing styles and a playwright versus screenplays and I mean this foundation. I didn't even know this foundation existed. This retreat. So I hope you did too. And I think Sean's incredible. I'm going to have him back on the show later on, and that should be an interesting show too. So check in again on join me again on Sunday night. We're going to go out to Hollywood and visit with a makeup artist out there she has done makeup for the stars in all sorts of movies out there. Julie Hewitt is her name. She's incredible. So she's going to be with me on Sunday night, and we're going to look at her work. And she's also a businesswoman. She has a cosmetics line. So we're going to look into that. And that's at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on Buzz Talk Live. So join me then on Sunday night at 9. Thanks again for tuning in, and good night, America.